Well, hello everyone and welcome to another week of Soap Secrets. I've got Claire Ruck joining me. Hi Claire.
Hi Hannah.
And Victoria Wilson talking all things Holby. Hi Victoria.
Hi Hannah.
Okay, so it's all going on in Holby this week, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So, after stepping down as Holby's CEO, that has got to be the shortest reign in Holby history. Fletch is somewhat dealing with matters of the heart this week. There's a major incident at the hospital. Basically, a school bus has been involved in an accident, so it's sort of all hands on deck on AAU, and even director of funding Jenny Sinclair, played by Deborah Stevenson. She's sort of rolling up her sleeves to help out on the busy shift. There's actually a really nice line where she says, she tells Fletch, "I was a nurse before I was a suit." You know, it's quite nice. We find out that a little bit more about her. It's no secret that Fletch is kind of he finds Jenny attractive. He likes having her around, and they certainly enjoy some sort of flirty banter or flanter, as Fletch would call it in this episode. And they arrange to go for a drink after work, and it sort of really looks like there could be love in the air. We also find out. We sort of find out a bit more about Jenny here anyway. We find out that she's got a niece that she's close to. And obviously Fletch knows a thing or two about teenagers. You know, he's a dad of 4 and a dad to 16-year-old Evie. Speaking of Evie, she's at Holby 2 this week. She's got an interview for a job at the hospital coffee shop. So she pops up. It's always nice to see anyone from the Fletcher clan. So anyway, she's got an interview for a job in Pulses, and having already been criticised by her dad for what she's wearing, Evie's day goes from bad to worse when she basically bumps into, quite literally, fugitive Andre. We know who's kind of wrapped up with sort of all the Keon stuff. He's basically hiding out in the hospital foyer. More on that later. And he accidentally throws a drink over her. He basically moves his bag and the cup goes flying, and she's like, "Oh, what? I'm just going for my interview."
Is that the beginning of a love-in? I mean, I can feel that this is the beginning of, you know, you're angry with someone, then you fall in love, eyes meet across the hospital ward.
Well, they meet across the hospital foyer. They share their sort of snap. She said, sorry, maybe this is my age. I don't really understand this. It's a snap thing. They basically scan their phones to join them up or something.
Okay.
Anyway,
yeah, we know all about that, don't we, Claire?
Yes.
Yep.
Our younger viewers will be able to educate me on that, maybe. But to make up for his clumsiness, Andre gives Evie his hoodie to wear. So if her dad saw her, he'd say she looked even worse for her interview. But anyway, and he agrees to help her prepare for the job interview. But yeah, it looks like something could occur.
We need a new romance, don't we?
Yeah, well, maybe Andre isn't who I would choose if it was my daughter.
Yeah, but everyone likes a bad boy.
Yeah, it seems that way. There's a fair bit going on with Andre this week, as we discover, and we learn that the drug dealers who are after him actually want him to smuggle more drugs. This is Holby sort of doing the light with the shade thing again. Anyway, Andre alerts Iain to the fact that the dealers are going to be turning up at the hospital later that night, and he worries that if he doesn't do what they say, they will come after Iain and Lucky too. That basically they really sort of put the frighteners on him by sending him sort of photos, sort of surveillance type photos that suggest that Lucky and Iain are being watched. So that makes him sort of afraid for them. He's afraid for himself, but when you're in that sort of line of work, shall we say, you kind of think, okay, I'll take what comes. But he doesn't want Lucky and Iain to get caught up in it all. No. Anyway, with the sort of clocks ticking, and Iain sort of faces the ultimate dilemma in that he's sort of forced. He's got a young patient in theatre, and he's like, you know, do I save them or do I sort of, you know, he's made it his job to sort of look out for Andre. So he's really kind of torn. Iain, of course, saves the patient. Spoiler alert, but we know he's an amazing surgeon, so that's probably no secret. And then he hotfoots it out of the hospital in the dark of night after Andre. This is Holby. You can probably work out what happens next.
And it's not going to be positive.
No. We do love Iain, but he's a good guy who makes just such terrible decisions, and this turns out to be one of them.
And it's not the only thing that's going on in Holby, is it? I mean, there's many kind of strands this week.
Yeah. We sort of pick up the Hanson story. Basically, the major incident with the school kids is a busload of kids from Hanson's old school, the school he went to, where he was abused by Sahira's late father, Rayhan Shah. As Hanson sort of has to operate on a boy who it turns out was also abused by Rayhan, we discover. And he's kind of racked with guilt that he didn't speak up sooner, basically to stop Rayhan abusing other young men. And he's not doing very well. His head's all over the place, and he's kind of forced to leave Josh to finish the surgery as he struggles to sort of conceal his wounds. We've been alerted already to the fact that Hanson is self-harming, and that kind of steps up this week. You know, our Josh is very switched on. He knows that something is sort of troubling Hanson, and he's sort of there, and he really confides in him. It's really difficult because you've got this sort of junior doctor and the CEO, and you know, there's that power struggle there where it's Hanson's like, but you're a junior doctor, and I'm supposed to be your mentor, and they're sort of Josh is really kind of trying to help him out. I suppose the question is, will Hanson be brave enough to open up?
Watch this space, I'd say. Thank you,
Yeah,
Victoria.
you're welcome.
Sadly, Casualty, well, it's still on, but it's the FA Cup final this Saturday because it's Leicester versus Chelsea, so let's hope Chelsea wins if you're living in a Chelsea household like I am. But Casualty has been pushed back until 9:20. Claire, tell us more.
Yes, so it's rather late, I think, Hannah, 9:20. So you're going to have to sit up. And
it is.
Let's hope if Chelsea win, you will be sober enough to watch it. Or perhaps not. So in other news, I thought Casualty fans would really like to know this. Now I know. Michael Stevenson, who plays paramedic Ian Dean, is a big hit with the ladies, a big hit, and why wouldn't he be? He's in Innocent this week on ITV, which is showing Monday to Thursday. So that's a drama that plays out over 4 nights, and he plays a policeman in it. So if you're a big Michael Stevenson fan, do make sure you catch that. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be really good. So this week in Casualty, I watched this one and I cried, Hannah. I cried. It was very sweet, but it was also about dementia, which is such a big issue, I think, for Britain today and in our older population. And it was very, very sad. And Ian Dean, paramedic Ian Dean, it plays a big part in this, and he's got what I call his rascal gene out because he and Faith get a little close while helping a couple who are celebrating their golden wedding anniversary who come into the ED department. So Ian brings the couple in, and the couple are called Bobby and Ken, and Bobby has dementia, very sadly, and it's their 50th wedding anniversary that day. She's had a fall, her husband's struggling to cope, and she's had to come into ED to be checked out. And really the couple would like to be at home having what they do on every anniversary they've done for the past 50 years. They have dinner and some fizz, and they just celebrate their marriage in this lovely fashion. And it was so nice. And what we actually see is that Bobby and Ken is not coping very well with Bobby. He's also ill himself. He's tired, he's stressed, and her condition is worsening. And this is just so sad, isn't it, Hannah, when you get to this point?
It is so sad. But I think it's an interesting storyline because there will be many people that are in similar situations where
Yes.
they have a partner with dementia, and there's only so much you can do and that you can cope with yourself as a carer before you become ill.
Yes.
And they're obviously, not young, and just to have that realisation is really hard. I think it's very sad.
And this is what happens in the ED department. Ken loves his wife. Her dementia has been getting increasingly worse. He's not a young man anymore. And when you have a fall, it's difficult. It's really difficult. You need a trained person to pick up someone that's had a fall that isn't as mobile, because you're really heavy. It's not an easy thing to do. So this is what we see at the end, that Bobby has to. Faith gently says, I think, really, you've come to the end of your ability to care for her safely. It doesn't mean you don't love her. It just means you can no longer do this. And she is taken into respite because Ken has angina, and he needs care himself as well. He's, as you say, he's not a young man. And sort of Faith and Iain sort of bond over this. And and cheekily, Iain asks Faith out. Now,
oh my goodness, what is Lev going to say about that?
Well, so we did see about 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago that Lev actually hit Dylan when he thought, when they were having a thing.
Exactly.
So, and also, Iain works with Lev. They're co-workers. I couldn't possibly comment. So they're co-workers. Dylan's also
very
in the
difficult.
ED. It's just like, what will she say? What will she say?
Yeah, what will she say?
It's got a lot going on. He's a naughty boy, isn't he, Iain?
Really is, but I like it.
Yeah. So, just one more quick thing about the elderly couple, Bobby and Ken. You're going to see them not socially distancing in this storyline, because as we see them celebrating their golden wedding anniversary, this staff get them a candlelit dinner in the ED department, and then you see this sort of fantasy bit where they dance. Oh, she's not well enough to, but in her mind's eye they're having this lovely dance, and they're actually played by real life husband and wife actors Rupert and Emma Visitor. So they don't need to socially distance, and I thought that's
really nice.
thing.
That's a good idea, isn't it? When you've sort of got cameo roles, if you like, or roles that are just sort of quick and like this, it makes total sense, doesn't it?
Completely.
It really does.
And it must have been so nice for them as a couple to go to work together.
Yeah, that's so sweet. Lovely storyline. We leave on a high. Well, it's a sad high. Hollyoaks not so much so, though, because the question still hangs in the air. Who killed PC George Kiss? It was a number of weeks ago now, and let's be honest, it could be anyone in Hollyoaks, couldn't it?
Yes, it could. It's a soap. Line them all up.
Yeah. Particularly Hollyoaks, though, really.
Completely. And we all know that Jean-Paul is the prime suspect, but has he been set up? I would, I think if you're a prime suspect in a soap, generally you're not the killer. So
yeah, it's too obvious, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah. And I mean, we know that George Kiss, PC George Kiss, had been abusing his lover and his fiancée Jean-Paul, but he had other people that didn't like him, so there are other suspects out there. And this week, Teresa tracks down the fake witness that puts Jean-Paul at the crime scene, and Jean-Paul is released from prison when it's shown that actually he wasn't there. So that's a good thing. But as the walls close in on one of the murder suspects, we see a flashback which reveals new information.
Oh, Hollyoaks love a flashback.
They do.
They love a flashback, don't they, Hollyoaks? Yeah, brilliant.
And they also like to hide information, so you haven't really seen the whole picture, you just see bits. And of course then they point you in different directions, don't they? So we see what really happened in George's last moments, and we see that the hour of reckoning has come for the real murderer as they prepare to confess and reveal the truth. But will anyone get in their way?
Da, da, da. It's ellipsis time.
It's going to be very interesting.
You're not going to tell us, though, are you?
No.
That's good, though. I like the fact that we're going to sort of come to the end, or have some closure on that death. Let's be honest. It's been a while.
Yes.
So, Coronation Street. Now, I hope everybody managed to listen to. We did a little Coronation Street special last week on Seb's death that we published straight after the episode aired on screen because we couldn't do it for obvious reasons. So I hope you got to hear that. But with the whole street mourning the murder of Seb, Asha plans to get the truth from Corrie about what happened that night. Claire, is this going to end in tears? Has she put herself in danger? What's the score?
Well, who knows? Corrie's dad's very, very wealthy. Let's put it this way. So he can afford lots of things. He can certainly afford a good lawyer, which is more than a lot of people on the street can. Kelly, for one, because she's been fostered by Imran and Toya. So yes, so Asha. She's out to get Corrie. She knows that he asked her for a fake alibi. That's against the rules. That's against the law. She knows he's not a nice person. She knows that. So she really liked Seb. She liked Nina. It is shocking that Corrie and his friend Eli and the gang murdered Seb and attacked Nina just because they looked slightly different. It's still shocking. So so she's out to get them. How long will this take? Can she do it? Has she put herself in danger? This story's going to run, so who knows? Yeah,
it's going to run and run. So Harvey is in jail.
Yes.
And his aunt Sharon is trying to find Leanne and Simon. So the stakes are getting higher this week, aren't they?
Yes.
Because a decision is made to kidnap Sam, which is Simon's stepbrother.
Yes.
I mean, this is going to go and go. I mean, you don't put a big drug dealer in prison and not expect there to be some level of repercussion, I suppose.
Yes. So you called it correctly. It was very difficult because I couldn't say anything, Hannah. But you were correct that Sharon was related to Harvey. We couldn't say anything because they wanted to keep this a surprise to the viewers. But yeah, she came back. She's actually she's his aunt. So he's her nephew and he's in jail and he's trying to get her to get all this information. She's come up empty at the moment. So little Sam is the one thing that she can get her hands on. And he's so cute, Sam. He's so popular and so cute. And he's Simon's stepbrother. Obviously, Natasha's his mother, but Nick is his father, and obviously Nick is with Leanne. So he's Gail's taken her grandson to heart because he's only recently come back into the Platts' lives, and he pitches up at Gail's for tea, as you do when you're a grandson and you go around to your nan's for your tea, and Sharon knows this. She's worked all this out. She's over at Rita's watching the Platts. All this is all really, really scary stuff. And one of Harvey's heavies grabbed the lad, and it's really.
I reckon that's distressing to watch. I'd imagine.
Yes, it is.
I find that sort of thing very difficult to watch.
And they lure him into the back of a van with promises of do you want to look at my telescope? That sounds a really odd thing to say, but the lad is very intelligent and he's into all sorts of things. And yes, so you wouldn't say to him, do you want sweets? The obvious ones, puppies.
Yeah, or come and see the puppies. No,
the obvious ones. That's not the way to get Sam. They know him. It's to do something fascinating for him, and that is telescopes. And there is a telescope in the back of the van, and he does get into the van, and they slam the door and they drive off. So how far is Harvey prepared to go? I know he's behind bars, but he's still probably everyone's dancing to his tune. Yeah, he's a nasty drug dealer, and he does not want to go to jail. So I would say he's willing to go pretty far.
We'll leave that there. It sends a little chill down my spine, I've got to be honest. Okay, so EastEnders, you've got some exciting news, I believe.
Yes. So we know, if you're a big Chelsea fan in your house, you'll know then, you're marking it down, then the Euros start on Friday, the 11th of June. It's not something I'm marking in my house, but anyway.
I'm not sure I would be if I wasn't sort of bamboozled into it, but yes, that's on the calendar.
Yeah, that's like a month away now. So
but this is my favourite thing ever. I actually saw a few pictures from this happening. Harry Redknapp makes a sort of cameo appearance, doesn't he?
Yes.
And will appear on our screens over the summer to celebrate the tournament. So and I read a few comments from Harry. I really like Harry Redknapp, and he said that he got quite friendly with Danny Dyer, which you can just imagine the two of them, can't you?
Yes. Why wouldn't you want to be friendly with Harry Redknapp? Because he's a legendary West Ham player now. Because obviously, EastEnders is set in the East End of London, and West Ham is a massive East End club, so it's going to be really big. And he's also a massive manager. He managed West Ham along with other clubs. So and I would imagine that Danny Dyer would just have been all over him like cheap perfume.
Oh, they're just two legends in one place. But Danny Dyer, Mick, does have quite a hefty storyline this week, doesn't he? Because he's finally facing his abuser, Katy, in court as the trial starts.
Yes. We've been waiting for this since it all kicked off at Christmas. It's 6 months.
We have.
6 months down the line now. He's been in massive stress. It almost cost him his marriage, as we recall. So, him and Linda took a break at Christmas when she had a dalliance with Max, shall we say. He's really stressed this week, and it doesn't just affect Mick. It also is it's a massive week for the whole family, and also it's big for Frankie, his daughter by Katy, because she's torn between mother and father, isn't she?
Well, yeah. Well, you'd like to think that she could see the reality, but I suppose she doesn't know because one of them's saying it's not true. So yeah, it's a really difficult thing to do. And I think that so if you're younger, I don't think you have to see the person that's abused you, do you? You can be behind a screen. But I think in this instance, he probably does have to face her. Yeah. But also, he's written this victim impact statement, which I think is pretty hard hitting, as you'd imagine it to be. And Shirley, she thinks that it's enough to get Katy locked up for good, but the trouble is Frankie, who's stuck in the middle, she's kind of hurt and confused, and that takes a new turn, doesn't it? Because there's an interesting part here.
It is very interesting, and it is difficult for Frankie. She's her mum. She didn't really. She opened up a huge can of worms because until she pitched up in the square, none of this was really known about, and Mick didn't consider. He didn't consider he'd been groomed and abused, and then he came to realise that he had. But Frankie had been brought up by her mum. She didn't really know any of this. She it's her mum. She didn't know exactly what was going on, and so when her mum contacts her about a character reference, what will Frankie do? So she has Mick's family gunning for her mum, and her mum almost certainly facing jail time, and her mother saying, "Will you give me a character reference?" So it is very stressful for Mick and also for Frankie. She's not condoning what her mum did, but she's just feeling emotional about it. There's a lot of emotion.
I mean, you can kind of you've got to hope, I suppose, that justice is done. I mean, generally we do see that in soaps because it doesn't really encourage people to do anything, go to the police, speak out if justice isn't done, which we see so often. So I hope that they do, show that. I'm sure they'll do the right thing.
I'm sure justice will be done, but how will it get there? What will the journey be? That will be the interesting part. But and very excitingly, there's loads of stuff happening in EastEnders this week. There's stuff happening with Harry Redknapp in the future, but we could talk about this week. But Brian Connolly is it's the first time we see him in EastEnders as Sonia's dad, Terry. I think he's going to be a great addition. Oh, yes. I think he's just got it in him. It's just going to be brilliant. How's their reunion going to go, do we think? I think, will Sonia be unimpressed or over the moon? I think she's going to be unimpressed. Yeah, well, it doesn't really fit with the soap structure to be happy. So I think let's go with unimpressed. He's not going to be a diamond geezer. I think he's a dodgy geezer. Yeah. He hasn't been in her life for years, and then he just rocks up, and she's hiding under a pub table, going, "That's not my dad. That's not my dad." Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. Brilliant. As you said, he's going to be brilliant, Brian Connolly. He's just going to bring a little bit of something to the square. He's going to bring... I love it when they bring celebs in that work, ones, and they have a really... Actually, they all do, in fairness, but EastEnders have a really good way of
they of choosing the right ones that can do it, that aren't wooden and don't sort of don't work very well. Although I think all of the soaps have got quite good form for it, to be honest.
Oh, they've got loads of it. I mean, Gwen Taylor's just joined as Vi, Callum and Stuart's gran, and I think she's settling in really well. And obviously, we just talked about Harvey in Coronation Street. That's Will Mellor.
Yeah. And we've got the Pritchards as well, haven't we?
The Pritchards on Hollyoaks.
Yeah.
But they did loads and loads of things. Coronation Street did. They had Les Dennis was in there as well.
Yes.
And I thought he did really well on it. I really liked him.
Yeah, he was good. I agree. Well, I was watching him on Would I Lie to You the other night, so there you go. He's moved on for Les Dennis.
Has he? I didn't watch that one.
It was just on the panel, but it was absolutely disgusting. I mean, I won't tell you because I don't know if you watch any of these things on catch up, but they made me laugh a lot, those shows. And he had a very disgusting thing that you just couldn't possibly believe to be true because you'd never admit it on national television. And you can probably guess what the outcome was, and I felt physically repulsed by it. But anyway, moving on to Emmerdale. Liv is still spiralling, isn't on the booze, and her brother Aaron just can't reach her.
No. So we know Liv. It's very easy to get the name confused there. We know Liv that she left Paul to die, and this has really been playing on her mind, and she's just not coping at all. And her brother Aaron is really concerned about her drinking. She has had an issue with drink before, and now she's gone straight back on it. And Aaron's mum Chaz stages an intervention this week. I think that's very nice of Chaz. And she locks Liv in. She
has a good heart.
She does have a good heart. I think that's really nice. It's a bit like when Aaron was a bit of a runaway or a bad teenager. Paddy was there for him and was a really stabling influence. So those two work really well together. And they bring everybody into their family. And just because Chaz isn't Liv's, biological mum, she's still looking out for her. So that's really nice. And she locks her in the house without her phone. I'm not sure many teenagers deal with being without their phone very well.
No, I would agree. But is Chaz going to get through to her, do we think?
Well, I would like to think so, but I think things might get worse before they get better.
Before they get better, yeah, almost certainly. Now, the storyline that's really kind of captured me is this whole Kim storyline, because she still hasn't found out who's spiking her brandy. And I don't know how this is going to all unravel, but she actually is so concerned that she goes to the doctor, books an appointment for a proper dementia test. So, there really isn't any signs that anyone's rumbled what's going on yet.
No, there isn't. So we've seen someone popping pills in her brandy, and Kim likes the brandy. So she's been drinking more and more of these drugs, and it's making her woozy, not compos mentis. So she thinks she's got early onset dementia, and also at the same time, Gabby is up to no good and is taking full advantage of Kim not being on top of her game, and she's been stealing money from the company accounts and has been buying lots of designer clothes. Well, I think Gabby's becoming almost a proper Tate with all of that. But would Gabby stoop so low as to try to poison Kim? I think that's quite a step to start.
I don't know who. I don't know who's doing this. I can't work it out.
No. Do you know what? It's a bit like Hollyoaks. It could be anyone. Who killed George?
Yeah,
It could be anyone. Who is doing this to Kim? It could be anyone. And if
she's got enemies, hasn't she? And the Tates have enemies.
And people, I think, fans study when they see the hand. They study the hand and they think, "Oh, whose hand is that? Is that a male hand? Is that a female hand?" I think just go with the flow on this one and don't try too hard to do it. You know what? It could be anybody. We have Vanessa coming back. Bernice is coming back. Gabby's mum.
Yeah.
It could be anyone. Is Joe Tate coming back? It just could be anyone who wants to harm Kim. I think shortly Kim will work out that she's being spiked, because she's gone to the doctors and they will do tests on her, and they were going to find stuff.
They'll
in
find
her,
something. Yeah, they will.
they'll find,
They will.
you know,
that'll-
substances in her blood that shouldn't be there, and she'll say, "Well, I don't have a prescription for that, so I don't know why that's in my blood."
Yeah,
And then
it's
they'll
all going to
work it
come
out.
out. But this is a great one. They're obviously playing it very close to their chest, understandably, and I hope it's going to be someone that I least suspect.
It really could be anyone. It was a bit like Al at Christmas when we had the three
Yeah.
ladies, and it turned out to be Debbie.
Yeah, exactly. It really could be anyone. Well, thank you, Claire. What a great week. We will be back next week, as always. In the meantime, please do stay safe. Lockdown is easing. Hurrah. And keep yourselves well. And we will see you next week.